All right, it's 3 o'clock. Should we rock and roll?
Let's do it.
All right, so welcome to Privy Live, our first Facebook Live Q&A session. My name is Josh. I'm the VP of Marketing here.
I'm Ben. I'm the founder.
And we're going to be doing this as a regular series. We're going to mix it up between live Q&A sessions like this one. We're going to do some topic-specific ones, maybe some training sessions on Facebook Live. We want all this information out there for everyone, so we're going to do it on Facebook, make it easily accessible for you guys. We've been collecting questions all week long to address during this session, but if you have questions, certainly put it in the comments of the video, and we'll get to those right away. So without further ado, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, our first question, and probably the question we get most often. Why do I need a pop-up form if I'm using a lead capture form or a list growth form from my email service provider?
Sure. Great question. So we definitely hear this a lot, especially given that many of our users actually come from MailChimp or Klaviyo or Constant Contact. And what we found is that many of these email partners of ours, they're incredible for designing and sending and triggering emails. But most of them kind of drop the ball in terms of the forms and targeting that they offer. They maybe have a very basic lightbox or like an embedded form that you see on everyone's site. So I think if you're ready to take things to the next level, easy to design, drag and drop, targeting, fully integrated into your email provider, but gives you some more bells and whistles around coupon integration and the targeting stuff. That's really why so many people are coming to Privy.
Awesome. So take even a step back further from that. Like in the age of social media, digital marketing, why does growing your email list matter?
That's a great question.
I mean, I know email marketing is dead, but...
Yeah, no, we've heard that quite a bit. I mean, we've found specifically within e-commerce, but really in any vertical, that email continues to be, and perhaps is even growing, as the highest ROI channel for communicating with your customers. And I mean, we certainly feel that when we're triggering emails to our users, that those get the most engagement, the most clicks, that sort of thing. But in general, it's a relationship that you own, right? And so it doesn't belong to Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or Twitter, right? So if you build an email relationship, as long as you don't abuse that relationship, you can communicate with that customer or contact whenever you want. And that's, for small businesses or large, just a hugely impactful channel of marketing.
Awesome. So what are some of the sort of simplest ways to get started with list growth?
Yeah, good question. So I think the concept of list growth is still pretty new. And if you look at many sites today, there's just a generic pop-up that loads that's the same for everyone. And what we really kind of preach to our users is that you should be thinking about displaying certain messages to people based on parameters that you can infer about them, right? So simple examples, if you're just getting started, would be think about your desktop traffic different than your mobile traffic, right? Obviously, the size of the device, the intent of a mobile device is so different than someone browsing your site on desktop. So you need to be thinking about, can you, at least in the interim, think about two different formats, one for desktop, one for mobile. That's really where I would get started first.
Awesome. Check the questions here.
Actually, there's one that's interesting here. Might be a good one for you. We've got a question about fields to include on forms. Any advice that you would give new users on how many fields to collect, what fields?
Yeah, so this is a hotly debated topic in the marketing world. Certainly if you have a sales team for your organization, maybe you're a B2B, there's always this conflict between, the sales team wants as much information as they can get from a user before registering.
Right.
Whereas as marketers, we know the number of forms has a direct relationship on the amount of conversion.
Number of fields.
The number of fields. So ultimately, the fewest possible fields on a form is going to get you the most conversion on your website. And I think you need to find that right balance that's there for your business. I think also recognizing when someone has already filled out a form and not asking them to do it again can be really impactful. And then I think the other thing you need to think about is there are things that you know about a user without having them fill out a field. So, as creepy as some of it may be, my mom freaks out every time I talk about these things. But when someone comes to your website, you know where they came from, you know what they've looked at, you know what country, what language, a lot of different things that you can target your messaging at them based on that and add it to a user record without actually having to ask for that.
Yeah,
right.
And just to add to that, I think people really feel the need to even ask for the name field, but the reality is that's just a very basic way to personalize automated emails to include someone's name. And we've seen some incredibly successful campaigns that just ask for the email to build a relationship. And then later on, as they track more behavior from people, see what they're engaging with, then it may be more appropriate to ask for more information. But just like you're saying, you can get a ton of stuff without even asking for it, just based on how they were brought to the site.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's like you're on a first date. Like you don't dive too deep into all of the possible things you might want to know about someone.
Right.
Let's take it slow. Let's have a cup of coffee. Let me give you some value. You're going to give me some value, and then we can get deeper into that fun.
Yeah, nice. New one coming in.
Yeah. So here's another question that we got this week, which is. Do I need to use a coupon to get people to sign up for my site?
Yeah, really, really good question. So one of the benefits of working with us is that we see a tremendous amount of data around opt-ins across all of our users. So in aggregate, there's like hundreds of millions of consumers that are seeing campaigns and opting in or not. And we put out a great report last year. We'll do a follow-up soon. That actually examine the different campaign types to understand do offers or sweepstakes have more of an impact on conversion rate? And as you would imagine, they do, right? And so I think it's important to understand how those impact conversion rates and what your baseline could be if you're not including an offer. So I would look at it less as, do I need to include a coupon as a way to capture a new lead? And more about, I know that I can present a really nice targeted form and win a subscriber. And if you're doing that without a coupon, just for reference, you should be converting about 1% of people that see that form without a coupon. If you attach a very specific offer, maybe it's a 10% off your first purchase, then your expected conversion rate would be around 5%. Maybe 10%. And then if you're doing something like a sweepstakes and enter to win, then conversion rates will be above 15, probably closer to 30. And I say those just because they're benchmarks, right? You don't always want to have an offer. You don't always want to be running a sweepstakes, just because you still really want to make sure that the right people are the ones opting in. And those are really just good benchmarks for yourself as you get started to think about, where's your baseline today and what are some levers you have in case you want to be trying to grow the list faster.
Can you give an example of a really effective campaign that didn't have an offer in it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's called 4Ocean. They're one of our users. And their numbers are blowing me away right now. So before they started using Privy, they had just the classic embedded form at the very bottom of the site in the footer. So super subtle, no one was really signing up for that. All they did when they started using Privy was adopt a well-timed exit intent pop-up. And there's no coupon whatsoever, right? So this was a great example of someone who came in, all they did was remove the friction of how you sign up for the list. They're converting 8% of site traffic into subscribers. No coupons. they don't feel like they're devaluing the brand at all. They just made it much easier for people to engage.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Check here. See what else we have.
What about let's see. Oh, what about if you're just getting started with targeting, right? So this concept of audience targeting. There's a question here. Like, are there specific rules or easy ideas, maybe beyond the device targeting idea I mentioned earlier, that you would recommend for people to think about if they're just starting on the audience targeting feature?
Yeah, I think one of the most powerful things you can do is target your message based on the page that someone is on, right? Especially if you have multiple parts of your site. Say you have a blog on your site, you have an online store on your site. The message that you're trying to get someone to convert on for each one of those is going to be dramatically different, right? One is to subscribe to my blog. One might be a special offer for a product. One might even be, say you're featuring this great new red dress, for example. Yep. It could be a message targeted with a discount specifically for that product. And it just helps create a much more targeted experience for your shopper. Everything is going to be relevant. One of the things that we do at Privy is people who come to us from various social channels, we'll show them a message welcoming them from Facebook or welcoming them from Twitter to help, tie those two things together and, create a streamlined sort of branded experience for them.
Nice. Yeah, another really powerful use case that we see work very well is this concept of targeting for e-commerce businesses, targeting displays to people that have a certain amount of money in their shopping cart. So really weeding out the people who are just visiting the site and browsing from those that are adding to cart. And then if you time that with a exit trigger and exclude the idea of people that are hitting the thank you page, then what you're doing is you're essentially creating a targeted campaign that is only going to load if someone has, say, $100 in their cart and is leaving without completing the purchase. It's a really kind of simple way to get into this idea of like abandoned cart campaigns, because most people, what they do is they lean on an abandoned cart email solution, and that assumes that you've captured the email, but for the majority of your traffic, you don't yet know who they are. So really simple cart value targeting and displaying something on their way out can actually reduce the number of people that leave as well. So I think targeting by channel, like you said, targeting by device, and thinking about a cart saver would be my first getting started suggestions with the audience targeting feature.
Awesome. One of the questions that we got earlier this week was around once someone signs up, what do you do with them? And I had an experience a couple weeks ago where I'd filled out a form, I hit enter, and I didn't even know if it worked. Right? So I think one thing that's really important is that you're sending an autoresponder email that acknowledges that they've signed up for your emails, set the expectation of whether it's delivering a coupon, whether it's you're putting them on your newsletter list, how often they're going to get it. It's really important to have that instant communication that says, I got your information, I'm going to give you what you offered, and we're going to get this relationship off on the right foot.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. And within Privy, keep in mind that that's something that you could do by setting up email sync, so that as new contacts come in, you're choosing, and connecting to MailChimp or Constant Contact, one of those, syncing over to your list immediately and sending the autoresponder from there. Or that is something that you can do all from within Privy inside that same campaign in the email section, just to call it out. There's a couple ways to do your follow-ups.
Awesome. Another fun question. What's the biggest mistake you've seen? Or the biggest disaster you've seen?
Oh, interesting. There was a case recently, I won't mention names, but it was a swimsuit company. I don't know if you remember this one.
I do.
So just getting back to that theme of, do I need to use an offer and do offers convert better? What we saw was there was a user who was running a social media contest that said if you posted a certain picture, you were entered to win something, and they would drive them to the site, and there was a form there, and they ended up getting a ton of signups. So from that perspective, they might have looked at that campaign as a success, but in reality, they couldn't deliver on the virality of that sweepstakes in terms of the inventory that they had. So I think I bring that up as the biggest mistake, at least recently, that I've seen, because it's easy for these campaigns to get ahead of themselves. And you have to remember that just because you can run a sweepstakes doesn't mean that you should.
Right.
And doesn't mean that it's going to connect you with the best leads and lead to the best customer experience.
Yeah, I think you need to find sort of that intersection of what is the most compelling thing that I can offer that I can actually afford to deliver on.
Yeah, and even so, I think if you are being a bit more aggressive about your couponing, I would lean towards not showing that to everyone and really sussing out who are the most targeted, most interested people and focusing your best offers on them that you're trying to convert the most. The other big mistake I see is that people roll out our basic default template and don't customize anything, right? So we have awesome templates, we're super psyched about those. We have tons more coming out. But you should definitely take the 5 minutes to change the default button color on the templates to match your business, swap out the email icon with your business logo, and make sure it's a vertical format that looks good on mobile. Not spending the extra minute can also be a mistake because you've spent so much time building a really nice site, and to add on a template that doesn't necessarily feel integrated, although it probably works well.
Yep.
I think it's a simple thing that a lot of people miss.
Another one that we get a lot is sort of how many campaigns, I'd say both can I and should I run at a single time?
Yeah, great question. I like to talk about walking before you run. And did I say that right? Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, that's the right order. Yeah.
So if you are coming from a place where all you have is your embedded form, start simple. I would recommend 2 campaigns, one that's targeted to desktop and looks great, might include some nice background image or something like that. One that's targeted to mobile that's faster loading, that doesn't include an image. And just start to get a baseline of what's happening. And then as you get more comfortable with the concepts behind list growth and how things work and the targeting, then you may expand into some more, 5 super targeted campaigns that are addressing specific user journeys or audiences that you're really trying to convert. That gets you to a point. We have one client, it was Clean Canteen or someone that they may have 30 or 40 active campaigns at once. And that's super advanced once you're fully on board with how the campaigns interact with each other. Only then would I recommend moving from a world where you have 1 or 2 or 3 campaigns to that many.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see if we have anything else here.
Oh, I've got one.
Yeah.
What about sounds like a lot of this is for e-commerce. Are you guys serving B2B or nonprofits, and do you have any recommendations there?
Sure. So, great question. The concepts are really the same, right? Where discount, it's really about what is your offer and how are you presenting it to them. So, in a B2B setting, usually you're not going to be offering a 10% discount on a product, but what you are probably offering is some sort of piece of unique content, whether that's an exclusive video that you can sort of embed on a thank you page, or whether that's a white paper or some sort of PDF download. That can be really powerful and lets you show off whether it's your mission, all about the mission and the things that you've done to help people if you're a nonprofit, or if you're a B2B, here's all the research we've done on a topic that might be relevant to your business. Whatever that thing is, use that the same way you would use a discount. So offer that, put it behind the thank you page, and you can actually, once they submit a form, you can take them directly to that PDF right? That hosted PDF somewhere, and you can send it to them by email, right? So insert that link right into your autoresponder, so they're getting permanent access to that as well. And those work really well. I mean, those work really well in B2C also if it's a non-shopping environment. So it doesn't have to be a coupon. People, there's a great stat that I think it was Microsoft put out that like 89% of consumers will give some personal information in exchange for something of value.
Yeah.
Right? Like salespeople all the time will talk about like give value to get value. You're doing the same thing here, and that is just a different piece of content that you're using. So that stuff works great. You can drive a ton of list growth without giving away the farm, for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing I would bring up on this topic is that the word list growth does not need to be synonymous with pop-up. I think a lot of people forget that there's so many other formats that may make sense for certain scenarios that don't for others, right? So in B2B, I mean, this is how we use our own product too, or even nonprofits. You're thinking about that inbound marketing playbook, right? So we're generating content that brings people to our site. They may be reading that content, and rather than a pop-up that loads immediately, maybe we're waiting as they scroll 75% of the way down our blog. Then there's a subtle fly out that, again, maybe it doesn't even have an offer. It just recognizes that maybe they enjoyed what they read, and offers them the ability to get our new content delivered to their inbox, and removes that friction of having to look around if that's their interest.
Yeah, in fact, just for this Facebook Live, we put a message within Privy, using Privy,
Right.
very meta, where there wasn't a form there. It was
Right.
just, we're doing this Facebook Live tomorrow. We actually embedded a Google form to take questions. And we're just promoting an event with a link out. So you don't always need to be capturing emails to be effectively using this kind of messaging on your site and in your product.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
So I think that's good. I think,
Perfect.
it's 3:22, our first Facebook Live. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to be doing these going forward. Let us know in the comments if you want to see more Q&As, if you want to see a specific topic, and we'll keep doing it. So thank you very much, and we will see you guys soon.
Thanks for joining.